Okay, let's call to order the Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, March 19th, 6 p.m. Let it show that all members are here. New referrals for consideration, South Union Street project. Mayor?
Yeah, okay. So they're going to go over the project and some, I guess you could say, some alterations that may be favorable to us. So go ahead.
Come on up.
Come on up, wherever you are.
Sure. You want to join us here?
I certainly can.
Yeah, why don't you come on? Let me grab my...
Okay, South Union Streetscape Project. We've been kind of working on this over the last 2 years or so. We've been working within the original DRI application, kind of working with Carrie. She had let us know what the original grant application included in terms of scope of work, and then additional work that was requested by the city. So, through partnerships with, or collaboration with the city, the city engineers, the two previous city engineers, we've kind of landed on the design as it is now. The whole time working through this, we've been working with our engineer's estimate, using unit prices for construction materials that, working with the best data that we can. The last couple of years has been kind of a wild ride with construction costs and unit pricing, and we were trying to, work with conservative numbers to make sure that we weren't caught off guard with construction costs. Some of these prices that we were using in our estimate were, arguably on the high side, but we figured it might even out. So it was just interesting timing with walkable Olean Phase 3 going out to bid, and the bids that came in for walkable Olean 3 were high. So we had an opportunity to just revisit our estimate, take a look at the similar items being used in both projects, and use the prices that had been bid as part of that project and swap that into our estimate. And we ended up landing on about $700,000 more than what we had anticipated. So how much does everybody know? Is this information that people are aware of? Any new, this is, okay. I just want to make sure I'm not, saying anything you guys didn't already know. So we worked on the design. So just recently we landed on the fact that the original DRI funding that Carrie had, we had last summer, come in and told her that our estimate for the project as it was coming in closer to $3 million. And she said that the way that the city's DRI application was written, or that the way it was awarded, she could basically change the way that the funding was allocated. So I know the mayor's aware of the other project that was scratched from the DRI funding, and that funding was rolled into that service. So that's where we landed at approximately $3 million in available funding, DRI funding. So we've been proceeding with basically that's the funding that we can expect to get for construction for this project. So now that we have the bids from walkable Olean 3 in hand, we were able to just assess where our project would most likely land. I mean, you never really know where your project is going to land until you get the bids in, but it seemed like a pretty good indicator of where they might land. So we just, so we basically landed at the fact that we were at estimating that we'd come in somewhere around 3.7 million, give or take, with the project as it's drawn up. And we just had a discussion with the city. Do we want to pivot and take a different approach and try to look for ways that we could cut some work out of the project to bring it back down to the available budget, which is basically where we sit now. So the cost estimates that we put together are a series of just like what ifs, like, you know, there's $3 million in available funding. We're estimating that our project would land somewhere around 3.7 in all reality, you know, give or take. I mean, it swings wildly. It just depends on what the contractors are bidding. We could get favorable prices. Millennium was the low bidder. This is really just additional work. It's the same work. They potentially could put in a favorable price because they're already down here. They're already mobilized. If they put in fair prices, they could just continue on with what they're doing with this work as well. Conversely, they could be overloaded and put in a higher price because they're already overworked, and the only way they're going to get it done is if they pay their employees significant overtime, and it's hard to predict. So we kind of got to go with just the average here, running with what we have, the information that we have. So what you see in that first sheet was just like a series of cost workups that we had worked up, like what if. So we basically have a little over $700,000 that we need to bring out of the project in order to keep it within the budget. So we looked up a series of options. What if we cut the work limits from Grandshot? What if we cut that up to Green Street? What if we cut out that little section south of Grandshot, from Grandshot up to the bridge? What if we cut that section out? What if we cut out the milling and paving? So these were like a series of like approximate cost reductions if we cut this work out. So we've been just trying to coordinate with the city on what the best option is. You know, option one is proceed with the project as is, see where the bids land, and the prices are probably going to be over the budget. It's just a matter of if you're ready to absorb it. There's a few things that we've already talked to the city about that we're going to look at changing. The 10-foot sidewalk, we'd already talked about changing that for, instead of taking it from 10 to 5, taking it 10 to 8 so that we can still maintain the intention of having it operate as a multi-use sidewalk. 8 feet still gets you that functionality without the additional 2 feet of concrete. And we were already pretty set on just removing the section at the approach to the bridge over the creek south of Grandshot. It seemed pretty obvious we could cut that out. But that was only a $65,000 savings, and if we're trying to maintain the $3 million construction budget, then you got to remove a lot more work than just $65,000. So this was basically where we were at.
West side, sorry.
Yeah.
I was looking down thinking it said West State.
Oh.
Sitting here trying to read.
Yeah, east side and west side.
No, I know, I thought it said West State, that's fine.
Yeah, so the 4 plan sheets that you have in front of you are our current project limits. You know, north is to the right, south is to the left, and that's basically what we're dealing with. So your east side is the bottom of your sheet, the west side's the top of the sheet. Any other questions? Did you have a question?
I did, but I forgot. No, I think it would be beneficial if you could run through each of the scenarios, kind of give us again your pros and cons. I think that would be helpful.
Okay. So the first one is basically just cutting the limits back. So the first plan sheet, which is the south end of the project, the bridge approach it's basically the paving joint up to where the concrete bridge. Cut a lot of money out of the project is to just cut the limits back. I mean, the project is estimated at $3.7 million. You're looking to pull $700,000 out, and then you got to pull out a significant percentage of the project. So we ran the what if scenario. What if we just pulled the limits all the way back up to the south end of the Green Street roundabout? So this would include the roundabout still getting constructed, and basically right up to the splitter island where those bump outs come back out. Which I can give you the station. Plans. This is the full plan set. I just gave you guys the most important pages.
Thank you.
Yeah. Alright. So we basically pull the project back up to the second sheet. There's a line that crosses at station 16 plus 50, which is like the first property south of Green Street. So this would involve cutting the limits all the way back to there. Pros, it's the easiest way to get closer to the budget that's available. I mean, this wouldn't even get you all the way down to 3 million. This would just get you most of the way there. The cons are it cuts out a pretty significant portion of the project that would be a benefit to the corridor. Some of the most challenging sidewalk to traverse is that section. The sidewalk just sort of disappears into their driveways, and one of the things that we were trying to achieve was to delineate the sidewalk as a proper walking path, trying to find ways to discourage the illegal parking within the right of way. You guys are probably familiar. There's a lot of vehicles that just end up getting parked on the sidewalk, and with all the development going on at Franchot Park, to be able to create a walking path that'll get you all the way down to Franchot Boulevard and a safe crossing, that was one of the priorities of the project. So there would still be a lot of good done in the project. The Green Street roundabout transformation is going to be a significant improvement. This is a gateway project, so this is that first major intersection that you see as you're coming over the bridge heading north into the city. And this roundabout will go a long way to just sort of slowing down traffic and setting the tone for how to drive through the city. So we're actually really excited to see Green Street being transformed into a roundabout as a gateway corridor. This will make a big improvement. So we could limit it to just starting the project there, but yeah, you are going to miss out on a lot of that. Some of the most active participants in the public participation that we've had have actually been the business owners down at this lower section. A little begrudgingly accepting that the way that they use the property, parking vehicles all over is not an appropriate use, but they have also expressed support for the project. Just want to make sure that their concerns are listened to, which we've done our best to do. So that's, the long and short of it, that's like the pros and cons of cutting that section out. Just looking at these numbers, the rest of the things going on, you're never going to get down to your budget if you don't pull all of it out. So that's the hard decision to be made. Going through some of the other options, the next one we looked at was the west side sidewalk, which is the bottom of your sheet. We designed that to be 10-foot wide sidewalk through the entire project limits. We just, as a thought exercise, how much money could be saved if you just took it from 10 feet down to the minimum 5-foot width, and that'd be about a $140,000 savings. The decision's already been made to take that down to 8, so you can basically 20%.
The existing sidewalk there.
Oh, did I say
East
west
side,
side?
yeah, on the east side is where we're putting the multi-use thing.
Yeah, I probably mistakenly said west side, didn't I? Yeah.
I don't want them to be confused.
Yes, all right. Yeah, thank you for correcting me. I just talk about this so much and tend to flip-flop, so it won't be the last time. Yes, east side. The east side 10-foot sidewalk is what we had proposed to, or what we had just done the thought exercise. What if we took it from 10 feet to 5 feet? So that is a side that we've already discussed. So we're going to take that down to 8. It'll still accomplish what we're trying to achieve, while kind of giving us a bit of a cost savings, and concrete's expensive.
So does that 3.7 already have it calculated going from 10 to 8?
No, that's, not yet, yeah.
So
we
we could, would you say about $100,000 worth of savings?
it'd be about 40,000 worth of savings,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Yeah, because you have 5 feet,
Yeah.
so like 60% of it, yeah, so 60% of 140 is, yeah, maybe more like 50,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that'll bring it down to about just over 3.7 million.
Are you familiar with what the shared use path that's being done along the rest of the corridor, East State Street? Is that an 8-foot, or is that, you off the top of your head, I know that's not your project, but. are you
I
familiar?
actually did the design for walkable Olean 2,
Okay,
so I can tell you we did a 10-foot sidewalk for that project.
okay, and that's the one over
That-
there.
Yeah, no, walkable Olean 3 is coming in right in front of City Hall here. Walkable Olean 2 is up at Main Street.
Main Street, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's that.
Oh, that way. Yeah, sorry, I'm spelling it.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, up at the north
So
end of
that's
the
the
Union Street
10-foot.
corridor. Yeah, which we had, just put some like future thought into, the little stub down Front Street. So the plans for the future Front Street extension, you know, the goal was to have that be a 10-foot walkway. So, I knew heading into this project that the 10 feet was desired. But reality is 8 feet can achieve as well. But yeah, if you're curious how kind of the rest of the infrastructure is going in, it is 10.
So it is a 10-foot on East State Street as well, to your knowledge?
That one I'm not positive
You know
on.
that?
I want to say we reduced that to 8 feet also there on East State Street. But I can check on it definitely tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, concrete's been one of the most, it's increased in price a lot. It basically doubled over the last 4 years, which threw a lot of people off, so. So a lot of municipalities are taking a much harder look at, sidewalk replacement. It just got way more expensive to do any significant amount of concrete work. The next one that we were looking at doing, this is another one that you saw. There was, it's like one of those things where you're replacing almost the same as it is now. So we were looking at it as, we could leave that as is with no real detriment to the project. It kind of makes sense that as you get over the bridge, and Franchot is like right there. So if we left the section that connects up to the bridge, it is contiguous with the infrastructure carrying over the bridge. And that's kind of under New York State DOT's purview anyway. So a future bridge project that NISAT would work on, they would inevitably replace and fix that. So the next one that we had identified, the next most expensive building material outside of concrete is asphalt. There's a lot of it, it's a lot of roadway. To construct a roundabout is full depth reconstruction. There's really no way around it. It would be near impossible to reuse the pavement that's there. So this doesn't include that section of asphalt. What this includes is everywhere else that is milling and resurfacing the pavement. This is technically New York State DOT's roadway. So it's always the debate, how much money do you spend on New York State DOT's roadway? You guys did get the DRI grant. It wouldn't be a proper project without doing it. This is one of those things where technically you could not do it, but we're gonna have a bunch of utility cuts in the roadway. All the drainage that needs to be replaced, they're gonna have to dig out in the roadway, so there's gonna be trenches. So if we didn't mill and resurface the roadway, it's just gonna be a whole series of patches in the pavement. So eventually, New York State DOT would come through and mill the road again, but they're gonna do it on their cycle. So I don't know for a fact when that's gonna be. We haven't had a real serious conversation with the state over it. But it's one of those things, you can't rely on it.
Well, that was honestly, that was the question I had written down, because it's similar to East State Street, in that New York State has, they have funding that they receive, similar to the way we get chips from the state. They get funding from the federal government to maintain many of these different corridors.
Yep.
And have we had, have we at least tried to have a conversation with them about, we're, looking at investing, and I get it, it's DRI money, but, significant portion into this project, I think it would be worth having a conversation.
Yeah, and it's a conversation that you kind of have with them. We've been coordinating with Project Liaison. This is a Department of State funded project, so New York State DOT doesn't have any stake in this project other than the fact that it's their road. So we've had like this weird pseudo review relationship with NISDOT where we send things in. In order to do the project, they need to issue a highway work permit. So really the only stake that NISDOT has is just approving the permit to do the work. They approved that to the contractor. So we haven't had as extensive coordination with NISDOT as we might have if it was like a federally funded pass-through project. That's been one of the challenges with this project. So the city engineer that had previously worked on the job had done some collaboration with NISDOT, but that is something that could be worth asking to find out when they're coming through. I know the state's funding is getting cut just like everybody else's. We've asked on other projects. I actually have a project not too dissimilar from this one where the state owns a portion of it. We asked them, would they be willing to pitch into the project by paving their portion of it? And they said that the project was outside of their paving cycle. They'll only pave so often unless something's in particularly bad shape. And they basically told them it's just a conversation to be had and something to consider. They might come back and say, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but we don't have the money to do that. So we were only looking to do a thin mill and resurface, just like the top 1.5 inches of asphalt. That's typically the thickness of the top course, the final. Just give it a fresh, smooth pavement layer. You can put some fresh paint down, cover up all the patches that you had from doing the utility work. This is basically a minimal amount of milling and resurfacing, and that's about $500,000. This does include the portion south of Green Street. So we set this up so it's not exactly like keep adding things up. They overlap a bit. This is one of those deductions that overlaps with one of the other previous ones. So if we cut out the work south of Green Street and also cut off the milling and paving, the dollar amount for the milling and paving would be less than this. We didn't do the math specifically to figure out how much. And the other ones are just some low-hanging fruit. The rapid rectangular flashing beacons, they're really nice. The prices have been jumping up for those. That's another thing. You don't need to have the rapid rectangular flashing beacons, so I personally identified one of these things. If the decision is made that you want to hold the line on the $3 million DRI funding, you basically need to bring the project, the estimate down to the $3 million, but you actually want to put a buffer in under that in case prices come in high. So we want to find work that makes sense to eliminate, and then also some work that you can break out into alternatives, similar to what was done for walkable Olean 3. But what we try to do, if we're trying to maintain a certain budget, we try to go like 15 to 20%, to have the base bid 15 to 20% below the available funding. That way if bids come in high, you can at least accept the base bid and keep it under the available funding limit. So some things like the rapid rectangular flashing beacon could be one of those alternatives that it's basically like our highest priority alternative, like alternative number one. Don't have it put in. You can have a standard crosswalk with standard signage, save your money on the rapid rectangular flashing beacon, and maybe sometime in the future, if you have some funds, you can come in after the fact and put in a solar powered one. They're really easy to install at any point, really. next big one, number 6 on the list, was no sidewalks on the west side. I gotta write this down. So it's the top of the sheet. When this project originally started, it was roadway treatments with a roundabout and replacing the sidewalk on the east side where we're putting in the 10-foot. Discussions with the city early on in the project basically led to, if you're gonna be coming in and doing the project, let's do the whole project. So that's what led us to basically look at overhauling the sidewalk on the east side of the street, which is on the top of the page. So the existing sidewalk is mostly 5 feet. There's some like small little 4-foot sections, like really narrow, like the bare minimum for ADA compliance. We had designed new 5-foot walk to bring it a little closer to the roadway. They were another business that tended to park vehicles between the sidewalk and the curb, which is really uncomfortable for pedestrians when you're trying to walk to the park and you're walking right past a giant truck that's running. Those were some improvements that were being proposed along the west side of the road, but if we wanted to take the project back to its original roots, we could not replace the sidewalk on that side. So it would be, so we would no longer be doing the driveway aprons, we wouldn't be doing the sidewalk. That's another pretty significant cost savings, somewhere in the vicinity of $200,000. Number 7 on the list is the existing curb. Ability reduces crosswalk distances. In many regards, bump outs are a really good design solution for the corridor. Overall, the public seemed supportive of them. We really didn't get any negative feedback on them. Retaining the existing curb is basically like those locations where the new curb would go back in the same spot as the existing curb is. We would still put new curb in for the bump outs, and we would install new curb for the roundabout. But the sections of the corridor where we'd be putting the curb back in the same location, this would be about a $320,000 savings. That's what we'd estimated. Pros are it's a cost savings. The cons, the list is long. There's drainage issues along the corridor. The stormwater tends to pond. A lot of the curb is just destroyed to the point where it basically doesn't even exist. So replacing it is actually like establishing curb. And if we want this to be a beautification, a gateway for the corridor, replacing the curb goes a really long way to establishing the aesthetic that you want with a gateway treatment. So we added this to the list. Like personally, this would be one of our lower priorities, but we wanted to just put it out there as an option if you're trying to weigh the pros and cons of what you would want to cut if you're trying to get it down to $3 million. And the last one we looked at was what if we just didn't do all the landscaping that we had planned. This isn't all the landscaping. We figured at the minimum you needed to replace trees that were being cut down to realign the 10-foot sidewalk. The east foot, well now it's being proposed as 8-foot. The existing trees along the east side of the road, we are proposing more trees that are being removed. It's always the preference, you want a greenscape. And we were also proposing some planting bed treatments along some key locations along the corridor. We were really trying not to go overboard with the landscaping. We know it's a maintenance issue. You can put it in, but if somebody isn't available to maintain it, so we were trying to strike a balance. So we just looked at that as an option. Maybe that's something the city could do after the fact, but that was about an $80,000 savings. And that gets through the list. Is there any questions, anything I can clarify, expand on?
I just want to, I'm not sure if everybody was here when a few of you weren't here when we proposed this project, but originally it was only going to Green Street and there. And then Paul, after talking about it, Paul Gonzalez was the alderman in Ward 3 and thought it'd be nice, you can contiguous to the bridge. But the original DRI project is only to Green Street. So that cost can't be included in the project, the DRI money. So it would have to be in the city's money. The $700,000 there. I think I'm saying that right.
I'm actually not sure. That would be the exact question to ask Carrie. Yeah. Yeah, the DRI funding is kind of its own unique thing. The Department of State, they give you a lot of liberty with it, and Carrie's got a pretty good handle on what you can and can't do. I defer to her.
I'll get that clarified tomorrow for everybody.
You raised a lot of questions and comments about the circle that, for putting it in on green. And that is 417. So what's the difference between that circle and the one that's continuously, the 4 circles that are running on 417 now, that you would require any differences? That's the same cycle. They would have to be on a cycle to do North Union on the north side. So why would the south side be different?
In terms of just generally paving,
Yes.
like the NISDOT paving?
Yeah.
Good question. So as I understand it, New York State DOT owns and maintains South Union up to State Street. North of, as I understand it, that's the city's responsibility to mill and pave that cycle.
So, Mayor, does the DRI expire for this project?
We have until 2025 to complete our DRI projects. We got an extension on them, yeah.
And
Yeah,
then,
June 2025 specifically, which is early in the year.
Right.
and we don't know when the next, NISDOT couldn't tell us when they're planning on paving their road.
We can make contact with them and see if they have it on the schedule.
Because what I'm thinking is maybe it can coincide and that would save a lot of money,
Yeah.
you know, on this.
But what he's telling you about South Union Street is similar to, remember we went through this with DOT owns 12th Street intersection all the way up to the underpass.
Yep.
Okay, and we are responsible for under the expressway. Because we had to do that, remember, we had to do that, so there's certain sections that now there's other sections that we get arterial you know, it's nominal, it's like 70-some cents per, is it?
72,000 a year.
Or 72,000 a year, you said.
72,000?
73.
70,000 is an arterial maintenance? Yeah. So, and that hasn't caught up either. It's kind of like the Ames fund that hasn't been raised in years and years and years, so.
There was like 2 on Buffalo Street. The DOT maintains from, I think it's Constitution Avenue to Country Fair. And they don't maintain, and the city's responsible for underneath the 86.
Yeah.
And at one time, I think Bob Ring was trying to see if they would swap.
They wouldn't do it.
They wouldn't do it?
They wanted us to bring underneath the expressway up to state standards, and then they would talk about it, so. Because they also maintain that intersection, the traffic at traffic lights at Constitution and Buffalo. That's the state's traffic light.
It's probably been brought up. Is infrastructure included in this?
Minimally, just whatever it takes to repair things to get it up to matching the current standards. So the storm main, the sanitary main, the water main is all remain as is. We'll have to do some like hydrant relocations to get the out of the way of the sidewalk. There is a stretch we did talk to the water department. Included in this project is some water main work between Henley and State Street. There was a new 12-inch main that was installed down the center of the road, but there's 2 4-inch mains running on either side of the street that are still in operation. They asked us to abandon one of them and move the services over the 12-inch line. So that's really the extent of the utility work, and then the storm drainage infrastructure. At the roundabout, we need to install new storm drainage infrastructure, but conveniently, that was kind of at the end of the line anyway, so we can just kind of rebuild the tip of the drainage infrastructure right there at that intersection, and that all drains. So then the bump outs, we have a little bit of work because there's some drainage, some catch basins where we're proposing to bump the curb out, so we need to move those over. But that's really it's just the lateral lines to the catch basins that we're doing work on. The main trunk lines are gonna remain as is, so, so the majority of the project budget is really like aesthetic treatments, you know, realigning, it's just geometry work, and then the reconstruction of the Green Street intersection into a roundabout.
So I guess I think it's really relevant for us to find out about the funding south of Green Street, and get a solid answer on that, because, I mean, there's no point in talking about reducing any of the additional scope, because all of the additional scope would only be covered by the $3 million worth of costs. So it would, if what you're saying, Mayor, is that, I mean, let's call it $725,000 represents the work south of Green Street, and if DRI funds cannot be used for that, then what's I mean, there's really no exercise in trying to reduce any additional, this is new information to me, is that if we want to do any work south of Green Street, it's going to be on our dime. All this other stuff is covered in the $3 million. Am I misunderstanding? So why even?
But he said that you wanna go 15% below your funding.
Yeah, we would have to, if you wanna hold the line on the $3 million, if we were to cut out all the work south of Green Street, we would probably still wanna identify some work to prioritize those alternatives.
But when it's saying that would get you $3,050,000, but he's saying you wanna go 15%, so you need another $450,000 in cuts to get to your 15% slush.
And I'm comfortable doing the full scope up until Green Street. I think the more material conversation is, what about the stuff south of Green Street? I get what you're saying, JR, as far as, you know, you want a 15% buffer in there, but if bids come in slightly over that, I think that's a good conversation to have, and maybe where we could pull out some different things. I mean, well, we wouldn't have a need for an RR, for a beacon then at Franchot Boulevard, right?
You might wanna check with Terry, cause
That was overlap, John, real quick, he said some things are overlap, so if there's no work south, that rectangle, the light is included in
That's
number
in
1, too.
725?
But,
yes, well, a portion of it, yeah.
Yeah,
but
he talked
keep it,
there.
remember, we were putting two, one at Franchot and one at Irving Street.
Is there still one at Irving Street?
So this is the cost, the way I read this is this $50,000 the cost for two of them.
Yeah, actually, I have to refresh my own memory on that.
So by eliminating the one at Franchot, we'd be able to put one there at Irving.
I think we only got approved from NISDOT to put it in Franchot. I don't think we got approval
Oh,
from.
that's right, you did talk about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we did the Warren analysis, because the interesting thing with the rapid rectangular flashing beacons is they technically qualify as traffic signal equipment, and any traffic signal equipment on a state roadway gets turned over to their maintenance, to their ownership. So the proposed rapid rectangular flashing beacon at Franchot is actually, when the project is over, gets turned over to the state, so it's not a city responsibility. So through the permit approval process, we proposed beacons at both the Franchot crossing and the Irving crossing, And they shot down the Irving crossing because it's so close to the Henley signalized intersection that it didn't meet just the proximity to a signalized intersection is what discounted it for being warranted. So that 50,000 might be a little on the high side for rapid rectangular flashing beacons, but the prices have been coming in very high. And based on the bid prices that we saw from the low bidder Millennium for the walkable Olean Phase 3, we felt like that was probably an appropriate estimate for costs associated with that beacon. And that's just the 2 beacons. The prices have been surprisingly high.
So I agree with John. If the fund's original grant funding went to green, we want to stay within that, depending on the other things that we take out. But also in thinking of our businesses that are on past green, because I've had several conversations with them as far as, they're family-owned businesses that have been in operation for 100+ years, and I think, the reality is that their business is big trucks and, loading and unloading and run. So I think, I'm in agreement with stopping it at green to just ensure, that our businesses are not being impacted in the volume that they're serving on a regular basis. So that's just my say.
And I think we need to figure out the DRI funding before we actually have more conversations. And I went to the meetings and I have to concur. I think that the businesses would be happy if it didn't go beyond Green Street. I mean, I see value both ways with it, but I think that they are not going to be brokenhearted if we didn't go beyond green. So I think that really it's finding out about the DRI funding, and if that's the case, then, and it can't be, then making that cut there. And it sounds like we're also kind of looking to, even if it does, we'd still be in that shortfall. But if it doesn't, that is the easiest. And then going back to seeing where the 15%, and maybe what we did before with the other project is we had the,
Well, we had discussions earlier with the project. Do we just push the project forward as is, or do we try to, land on, what the budget is and try to keep the project within scope? That was when the project was at like the 1.4 million for the DRI funding, and that's when Kerry went back to the Department of State, cut the one DRI project that hadn't been started yet and folded the funding into this one. And we had estimated the project around 3 million, give or take, based on the data that we had for available unit prices. Recent bid history is reasonably confident in the estimate that we put together, and we were moving right along with that. I mean, this entire project, as you see it, what we were estimating a little bit over 3 million, with the budget being at 3. But then we saw the bid prices that came in for the East State Street project, and I was like, whoa, reset, these are way higher than we would have guessed. So that's where we landed here. So, and I know that Kerry had to amend the application to the Department of State, and from memory, which I didn't read it that closely, I think she had written up all of the work that we were proposing, as what you see on paper here, to the Department of State. So I just want, I'd advise just to kind of check in, because I hadn't been alerted to the portion south of Green Street not being fundable under DRI. Not to say that that you're incorrect, that just was news to me.
Originally, the project,
Yeah. That I do remember hearing that. The project was just the sidewalk along the east side, redefining that sidewalk, making it a 10-foot for the master plan for the recreational route, And then the roundabout, and then there was also information in there about requiring medians, which is why we still have a median, but it's just at the South Street intersection for that pedestrian refuge island. Yeah, as part of the DRI application, it was written in that we're gonna be medians, so that's what we did to satisfy that.
And I guess, I mean, Mayor, it kind of surprises me though that given the number of changes that have occurred in this project over the many years now, I mean, I think the original roundabout was at Henley Street, is that right? Or Irving? Was it at
I think
Henley,
it was
was it not?
Henley. But there was the grading, right? Was the issue?
And there was grading, right? So there were issues there, and then, you know, the fact that, I mean, it's amazing that we got the funding moved from one full, I mean, the state agreed to eliminate one complete DRI project to pull the funding over here. It just surprises me that there's not a form that could be completed to extend it to the bridge.
Well, from memory, yes, the first thought was to have the roundabout at Hendrick.
Yeah.
And if you remember, Bob Ring was our DPW director at the time, and he did put it down at Green.
Right.
But I'll have answers for you tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, may I ask a question? I didn't realize, when we were talking about this, that South Union Street was a state, I knew it was a state route, but I didn't know it was a state street that the DOT is supposed to maintain. So I was wondering, because that's why I thought we got CHIPS money for us, they're paying us to maintain that portion, but I didn't realize that was their responsibility. So I was just wondering, DOT Region 5 is what we are down here. I was wondering, is anybody talked to Sandra? I think her name is Sergi. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It's been a long time since I've been working. But she was the communication engineer for DOT Region 5.
Okay.
And I was wondering if anybody's talked to her to see if maybe the DOT could get involved in it, since it's their street that they're responsible for. If they have any plans on doing any type of reconstruction down there, or at least assisting with the cost.
Yeah, so the New York State DOT assigned one of their project liaisons to the project. I do a lot of like federal aid pass-through project. That's what the walkable Olean Phase 2 was that my company worked on. That's also what Phase 3 is. So that gentleman is Chris Church. He basically is like the intermediary for NISDOT. Like he just kind of funnels everything through him. So he's definitely the right person to reach out to find out like who at NISDOT is the appropriate person to find out this information.
I think her name was Sandra Sergey or something like that. She was the communication engineer for Region 5 DOT, which entails down here to us.
Okay.
And everything gets, I believe everything gets approved through her office.
Okay, yeah.
And Frank Sorello, the director.
Yep, yeah.
Chris Church, you know who we have to reach out to.
Yeah, he's really reliable. And yeah, my counterpart who used to work at CPL took a job with NISDOT as one of their liaisons, so I can always reach out to her. She'll point us in the right direction too. But yeah, it's just one of those conversations that yeah, we just kind of got to have with the city, or coordinate getting the right people in touch.
So it sounds like the two follow-ups are whether the funding for the DRI funding can go from Green Street on, and then would the DOT perhaps pay for or pay a portion of the milling and paving of the road, right?
Yeah, you can certainly inquire with them, find out what their paving schedule is, explain the situation. If we're coming through and doing this project, be out the following year, maybe within a year or two, they'll be able to get out there and do the paving. Because they have their own schedules that they have to work it into. So you'd be dealing with a really nice new roundabout and a bunch of patchy pavement outside of that. It's just the trade-off that you have to deal with not including it as part of the project.
But eventually,
Eventually, yes.
Okay, any other questions? If thank you.
Yeah, and then the only challenge that we're running into now is schedule. We're coming up on the construction season, so we've just been kind of waiting for some decisions to be made. As soon as we get some guidance on what direction to take the project, we'll just have to, if we're gonna push it forward as is, it's easy. I can just take what I have and put it out to bid. We're gonna take stuff out, overhaul it. I gotta invest some time into swapping everything out. We just don't wanna get into it until we know what we're gonna do. And then we're kind of running out of time with the construction season. As the mayor pointed out, June 2025 is what I was told is the limit for the work, and that's closed out everything. So we just gotta get it out to construction and have it mostly completed this year.
Yeah. Well, as this is really the first that I think any of us have been briefed on this, I guess we'll have to take our time to review everything. And again, this is a lot of different news to me, a lot of changes, and I'm sure to all the aldermen too. So we'll get some follow-up, get our questions
So
handled.
Brian here, that's a lot of information, and it doesn't all line up nicely.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it all right if we take off?
next up, we have the EV charging station project status update. Mayor?
Okay, as you know, we went out to bid, and we actually, council awarded the bid. And looking into it, we didn't do things right. So, we have been in contact with the, John, this was a DOT project, right? No, it was a, Department of Health, right? Yeah, Department of Energy or whatever it was, project. So, in looking into it, we never got a contract signed with them. So, it's not too late. Everybody's getting a one-year extension because they haven't even been working on contracts because they've had such a turnover in their office and that. So we now have a person who is signed to us. And so what we're gonna need to do is rescind the resolution. And as soon as they have the contracts ready, they will ship them to us. We will have them signed, and then we can go back out to bid. And we actually found out that we have almost, wasn't the constructing of the, so we will go out to bid, and that will be for everything, so that we can get them all done, so we don't have to hire somebody to put them in. We'll do it, we have to do the bid properly. So it wasn't done. The MWBE was not included in the bid, which would have been a nightmare. We did not do that. So we want to step back, and once we get so we've been told to don't do anything until the contract, they send us the contract, should be coming within the next, they said within the next 3 weeks, but that's probably turned into 4 weeks or 5. So as soon as we get those contracts signed, then we'll redo the bid, and we'll send it back out. But in the meantime, I'll have to put a resolution in that we rescind the award there that the council did. So wish I had better news for you, but I don't.
So that project probably won't, do we know what the delay would be on that? Would that delay it till next season or in the fall possibly?
Probably in the fall,
Yeah.
as they're saying.
It may be worth following up with, and I can send you her name afterwards, but I know there's a program through National Grid to do the installation of the main electric lines. They have some program that they do that for free or whatever it is, that we could try to leverage with that project, so.
Okay.
Okay. Next, the Charter Review Board funding request. And this was sent out, I don't see it, we don't have the attachment there, but Jim Griffin had sent to Mayor Alio for legal counsel, 25,000, clerical support, 1,500, and then YouTube, 2,000 for 28,500. And with that, I'll pass it on to the mayor.
Yes, so, their request for the funding, so I would, request from the council $28,500 to be put into a capital project line earmarked for the Charter Commission. And I would suggest we take the money out of our contingency fund.
And that would come out of this year's funding. Questions? Thoughts?
What were the amounts again? 25 for?
25,000 for, it'll be external legal counsel, not the city's attorney. Clerical was 50.
I know you shared it.
I did, I passed it on. I emailed it on, right? Everybody got that? Oh, my apologies, and I thought that I had emailed that out to everyone.
I don't recall this meeting, so
I'd say no.
Well, my apologies. I thought I had sent that out to everyone, so, go ahead.
So rather than out of contingency, out of that one line that was the professional services line, that can't come out of there? Where I think that last night it said there was like $2,800 expended, and there was like 62 or 65 budgeted in there.
That's, I guess we could take a look at that, if that's what you're directing us to take it out, we could do that. It would just be a resolution to take the money from that line and transfer it into a capital project.
which one was that, Jared? That was last night?
That's not.
Yeah. It's one we were talking about where it was, Lens, I don't remember the numbers, sorry, but it was one where it was like, if it's an employee relations attorney, it was this line, if it was
Yes.
a city attorney, it was this line.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I'm trying to think which one, because I don't have my notes with me tonight. The only thing though, is some of the building, it's on the water. Are we gonna do that one anytime soon? I don't know, it's in, I don't know.
My question is, when do we typically get BWB's bill for
1989.
their audit?
We haven't got the bill yet.
No, they come in increments.
Oh, they do?
I think I have one, 15% already, that's already been paid. The next one should be coming soon.
Did you say, you think it's 15%? Did you say 15%?
15%.
Okay. So we're still expecting
Yeah,
more from them?
because throughout the year, they will send portion by portion.
And that's the only thing, would that come out of that line item or not?
They come under, professional services. Which is the
454.
That we
That's
were
the one.
underexpended.
For legal?
Actual was 2,820, and it was budgeted for 65K.
Oh, okay.
That's the one, and then we also had in the contingent account on that line item, it was 52 expended, 100,000 budgeted.
All right, we have 47,000 left in that contingency line.
So can you take a look at, if it could come out of that line?
Thank you.
Could you make a note, Hans, please? Thank you. So
I
that'll be
don't have a problem with that.
there'll be a resolution for next meeting.
And again, I apologize. I thought I had sent that out to you guys, so it is now in your inbox. Any other? Okay, on to unfinished budget, unfinished business, the 24-25 budget, and we have DPW, sewer and water. Okay, I think that's you, Mayor. Nope. Len.
Oh, is that it?
We have, you, come on down.
Which PE and that is all.
No hand.
Sewer and water will do Monday night.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Okay,
Yes, we
said
have it on the 25th is sewer and water, and the 26th is capital.
Somebody said that.
yeah, that's what it said.
Sewer and water will be Monday night, as will be capital projects.
Yep.
So what are we doing tonight? Is that right?
DPW.
All right, I'll give it a whirl.
Hey, engineer.
The first one is engineering department. There's nothing there really to go over except, the 100 lines. We can't really do much about those. I think there's a new position in there. The first one, that's 61,000. That's exactly what that's for. You have the notes, Mayor, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's for, what we've been talking about, that's for, new grade 16 civil engineer. And that would be, the concept was that, we had another engineer in that department, we could do some of the inspections.
So that's salary increases and the new position.
Yes.
Okay.
But you gotta remember, that's, some of it is a third.
Yep.
And the second
Now,
one.
is that for a civil engineer or a professional engineer?
That's for civil.
Okay.
So you're saying third, some of that salary's gonna come out of water and sewer,
Water and
just
sewer,
correct?
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And the overtime line went up 7,400, and the personnel and other 1,500 there, increase from last year. And that's pretty much it for this one.
Question. Do you have the number that, like, what is associated with just current contractual raises compared to the creation of a new position?
It's about 4%. Seems like they've been running pretty consistently at about 4%, 3 to 4%.
But the contractual is the CSCA is 75 cents an hour. Is that what you're asking?
You know what I'm saying, so of that line increase, 61,508, how much of that 61,508 is just current contractual raises?
We'll have to get that for you.
Have to email them, get some information on that for you.
I have a question too on that $61,000 increase. You said it's for a new grade 16 civil engineer. Does that also include, we were talking about two positions, so that's just an engineer?
It's just a civil engineer.
Yeah, we're talking positions, so I just want to make sure.
Everything here should be existing, and then the extra position.
But I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the council had given Robert the okay for no engineer.
We had expressed that some of us, what I would maybe say the majority of the council would like to see what that would look like in the budget. Was for a third position for the potential cost savings on inspection services. So that was the direction at one of the meetings that the council had expressed. So that's what you incorporated here, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Questions? Sorry.
Nope. No other questions, Brian, to the next one, Lens.
Okay. Public work administration, same thing here, we have the 100 line, which went up 3,400. And the next one below would be 1,200, which is that.
Where are you at, Lance?
He just finished public works administration.
Public
Right
Works.
there, where are you in there?
All right.
Questions? Okay, city building?
The city building, there's not much there. There's a decrease there of 32,000. kind of puzzled me when I first saw it too. The reason for that is I think he over budgeted last year, so he kind of fixed it this year when he gave me that request before he left. If you look,
Do we still have two cleaners? Is
No.
that?
We can't find anybody to hire for the second cleaner.
So I wondered, is that marking a reduction? Is that reduction because we don't have a second cleaner for the city building?
I think we'd like to budget for one,
Oh.
because as soon as we can get one, we'd like to get that second cleaner. Yeah. We just can't find anybody that wants to work.
Okay.
But wouldn't that be, because when you look at 2021 up to 2022, you can see the gradual increase, which is probably just your normal raises. But then you have last year's budget
117, yes.
at the 117, so maybe that was just a grammatical error, and that second position is budgeted.
It is budgeted. I did some inquiry about that. When I saw it, I was told that it was a mistake with the 117 put in there.
All right. I'm not gonna complain.
So with, though, we've expended the 42.5 through the end of December. So we still have the additional 5 months, so it's gonna, I mean, wouldn't we anticipate to be almost double that then, to be like 84?
Yeah. So he requested 85.
So, and if we only requested 85, then this 42 is for just one person for that time from June 1st to December, or is that for,
December 31st.
yeah, is that just for,
72. Once you extend that out, then take that 42 divided by 7 and multiply it back by 12, it should come in 72, which would still be under the, is that what you were asking? Because you were asking what the.
yes, but it wouldn't then have money to add that second cleaner like was talked about, correct?
So the second cleaner was a part-timer.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't
Maybe
a
about
full-time.
$13,000.
It was not a full-time position?
No,
it was a
I'm
part-
sorry, no, it was a part-time position.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. I thought it was a full-time position.
Maybe about $13,000 for that position.
I got you.
Okay. Good. Go ahead, we're good. Unless they have something they want to share with the team, you know.
No, we don't
Okay.
want to even talk about that.
Okay, just checking. All right, Lance, we're good to go.
Yeah, the next one is the central garage. Same thing there. He made a mistake on the 100 line last year as well. There's a decrease of 16,000 coming out from last year. So the budget is 146 last year, and this year is going back down to 85.
Wait, who made this error?
Well, that was my question.
That would be,
Previous?
no, that would be public book director we had
Yeah,
recently.
yeah. Okay. That's good.
1630, gee, that's almost like a cent and a half that we didn't have to raise taxes last year.
I don't know, he was new, so maybe that's why.
Well,
Alright, the increase for the following line, the other ones would be the 446. We bu- Alright, and also the next one is, travel training, so an increase of 2,000 there.
So Lance, I do have a question because in that 445 line, so we've budgeted 15,000, which has stayed the same. We've expended 3,200. I'm anticipating that there are other repairs and stuff that needs to be made to bring it up to the 15,000.
I would say so, I'm not sure what's coming up.
This was a central garage, right?
Central garage, yeah.
Yeah. There's gonna be more repairs that are needed down there, so. but
Significant repairs, right?
We're gonna need a lot more than that.
I just wanted to make sure because I thought we had talked about there being significant repairs needed there. Or a new building, I think. Okay. Okay, Len.
Any more questions on this one?
We have, if you go back to travel and training on 0462, we've had several new employees, new mechanic, and that's so it's gonna take some resources to have them trained.
Got it?
Yep, go for it.
Next one is Central Electric Services. The only bigger increase we have more than 1,000 is the traffic signal for 224. There's an increase of 30,000 there. That one, I'm not sure why.
It's for smart grid detectors at Tom's entrance, Front and Main, and 4th Street.
Smart grid detector?
Yeah, can you explain that? I can't. We'll have to get we'll have to have Dave, Cam explain these to you guys.
And they were for which streets again, please?
He's got Tom's entrance, Front and Main, and 4th Street. It'd be 4th and, I'm not sure if it's 4th and Wayne or 4th and State. I'll have to get that clarified.
Well, it's gotta be, yeah,
Both-
could be,
both have
yeah, they both
yeah.
have electric. I'm assuming it's one of those devices that
Or if it's the
triggers, senses a car there, otherwise it just leaves it green.
cameras, radar, and ground loops.
Yeah.
I
Loop
think it's
system.
loops, according to Google.
I'll get,
So it's gotta be Wayne.
huh?
It's gotta be Wayne.
He doesn't say, he just says 4th.
Yeah, it's gotta be Fourth and Main. If there's gonna be a sensor that's gonna trigger when a car pulls up. That would be the light where you wanna keep the traffic going and stop it only when a vehicle comes up right there.
Right,
Which is the school.
right.
Yeah.
And same with tops.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
sides
saying,
right
yeah.
there.
Cause you wouldn't wanna do that on Fourth and,
No,
State.
and then the other one was Maine.
Yeah, Front and Main and Tom's entrance.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get some clarification on that.
Any other questions there? Okay, Len.
Insect control, there's no changes there, same as last year. So move on from that. The next one is maintenance of streets. There's an increase for 100 line 1852. And the next one, there's a capital outlay for 400,000 in there.
Why is that increase for 100 line? Is it can't be all contractual increases, is it? Or is there anything on there or something? 18,522.
Can find out for you, I don't know really. He gave me those before he left.
That's about what their raises contractually. Because they've been around right around 4%, so 4%.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
That'll be the street department. Now, the capital outlay of 400,000 is this is for Front Street. We have where sweeper debris is dumped there, and construction spoils removed from Front Street. We can no longer dump where we were, so we're gonna, he originally put in for 500,000. I talked to Donnie Bearfield, he thinks that 400 will cover that. We're also gonna have to start getting rid of our, pay to get rid of our, yard waste and that we're taking there, so we don't have it option, or we're losing our option of getting rid of that for no fee. So that's all that has to be calculated in there, so.
Is this an amount that we should expect to see from here on out? Because when you look at it across, it was pretty low.
Yeah.
Or, okay,
Yep, yeah, that should be an annual cost now, unless we come up with a different way to dispose of that sweet potato.
Okay.
Next one is 419 accessories. There's an increase of 2,500 there.
What are accessories?
Do you have any question there?
I have a note here, but I don't wanna guess, we'll have to get that clarified.
And the next one, there's a $10,000 increase for the miscellaneous contracted services.
And that would be for roller rental, but we may, we talked about this in Fleet, at our last meeting in Fleet, and we may be able to move some existing funds around in the DPW or the garage down there. We may be able to buy a used roller for $32,000. That would eliminate us having to rent it for that short period of time, and it would be ours. The one that we have now is it breaks down every time we take it out the road, so that's why we ended up renting one. So I can, we can, so we may be able to possibly remove that 15,000 that's being asked for, or at least the additional 10,000 from there. So I'll get more information on that to you.
Any more questions?
Nope.
Next one is the tree program. We have the tree program that went up 5,000 from last year. We requested 25 instead of 20. I think that may be the reason why, because we used 19,000 up to December 31st, 2023, and we only budgeted 20. So we increased that by 5 to 25.
So I think I had looked at this note and I had seen, and, you know, it seems like, so this tree program includes the ones within the city lots, parks and stuff that need to come down, and the shared responsibility with the homeowners, or no? Is that separate?
I think there's a separate
Separate ones.
Okay.
that the council established for the tree program with the residents. This is where we have to,
And the next one is emergency cleanup. He requested 15,000 there. I'm not sure why, because we haven't used any as of December.
I think he requested the additional money because of the number of trees that we have to take down.
So that wouldn't be in the tree program line?
Now, that would be like, okay, the cleanup in Oak Hill Park, that tree come down, that would be under emergency cleanup.
So there's actually then would be about 40,000 for tree removal and cleanup if something fell down with the trees. Any questions? Okay,
Maintenance of bridges, there was no changes there, same as last year. And next one is snow removal. There's a 2,500 increase for the hydraulics and cutting edges. And that I don't have an explanation for.
And that's inflation increase for parks, that's
question?
I was just wondering why that went up when we only geared it a still got 14,000 left, am I reading that right?
So which one?
For 419?
419.
They'll start to, the trucks will be, now that the winter months are getting over with, they'll be getting the trucks in, they'll be taking the plows out, they'll be fixing them, getting the new cutting edges, for getting them ready for next year.
So for the salt and sand, I mean, there's nothing in there expended, so is this purchasing it preemptively for next year?
December
Yeah,
31st.
there's been, I got a report I can send you, I think did I send that to you on the salt? I'll send that to you, I got a report on how much salt we've ordered, we have to get a minimum order, how much we've used, how much we have left over, on that, I've got the report. I wanna say that, I don't know why I hate to trust my memory, but I wanna say we've already expended 72,000 on salt. So, but that's, hopefully, I could be confused.
We won't hold you to that.
I've already said it on camera, so it's not.
Okay,
We'll get the report for you.
okay, we appreciate
Man,
that.
one too many, sitting there.
Okay, street lighting.
There's no changes there, everything stays the same.
So I do have a question on. So in the 424, we have budgeted 235,000 and we've expended about 53,000 to date. So,
So not today.
well, I meant through December. So, I mean, are we anticipating lighting costs going up? Or, I mean, when we come in at about
Jen just got 2.
I got 4.
4,
Oh, sorry.
right? But you see why I'm asking, Les, right? I mean, that would bring us at like 90,000 for the year, right? If we kind of
Yeah, but
used
if you-
Jara's math.
But if you look the year prior, we spent 205.
And the 2 years prior to that, you know, we spent
Yeah,
90
52,
combined.
46, yeah.
But I know City of Olean just received new lights, so maybe that's why this 2022-2023 was so high.
It's possible.
I mean, you can't possibly be anticipating more new lights, so that amount.
Well, we just did that, right, where we're changing over to,
The LED.
Yeah, and I just wonder if it just takes a couple of years to get it to where you're actually gonna be, the reduction. Keep in mind also, we do get some net metering credits, but we have to front the money and then get the credits, so.
So, but and if you could get back to us on in terms of the projected end cost, because there's a huge discrepancy there, or huge, not discrepancy, but a large difference there between what's expended through January, or December 31st and,
Let me look that up and see where we are at current date.
okay.
Give me
With,
one answer on that one.
Who would order that, Bill? Is that the electric department would order streetlights or DPW?
Well, electric would be all that, and we can talk about
I
that.
just, yeah, I mean, to sign this.
Can we get the family and friends discount?
I don't know.
the Alderman discount?
Along
So-
with your previous math.
So this is for putting up new lights, or for the electricity for the lights, or for the new lights and electricity? What does this piece cover? The street lighting?
That's something I have to find out.
Okay,
Lens is just a substitute.
I know, but inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah. I'm not sure if how many streetlights we physically own,
Okay.
or how many that National Grid owns, and we
Rental?
pay a lease, and then plus the energy.
So it looks like, just looking at BP Energy, a lot of our costs went to them, and that was prior to switching over, this is an assumption, that this is prior to switching to LED, because the street lighting was actually 50 and 46K respectively. And then you had the large transition, I remember something like that, the 64, 65K. And we only spent 52K then on street lighting, so I guess, yeah, that's something that, there may be a lot of funds there that we can encumber and put somewhere else or something, I don't know.
And if that's the case, then maybe we might need to review that next year's budget amount, right? That would make sense then? Okay. So, what's gonna be projected, kind of what's covered, and Len's will,
I'm hoping we got it.
okay.
You do it within,
Other questions on street lighting?
Or we don't know what we would get from the BQ Energy, or would there not be anything, or would that be minimal?
we basically don't get anything as far as money value.
Right,
It's a credit
right.
that we do get. Some of our bill when we get them, it would say zero. And some there's like a couple dollars to pay. So what we do is the money from lighting power gets transferred to the PQ so we could pay the bill every month we get it. Those bills should reasonably go down.
Okay.
So once all the credits are being applied, I know we had 15 to 20 accounts. We just give those to them as of January. They were supposed to put everything in order. As of yet, I haven't seen anything coming down yet. So I'm hoping soon we'll get to some credits. That will probably bring down our lighting power once that happens.
That was similar to last year.
So, so are the credits monthly, quarterly, or annually kind of said, here's the credits? Or is it something that, I get that it's not money in hand, but, I mean,
So
how do they
basically
apply it?
bank the credit, on the bill, they would say so much of your credit is there, and then every so often it will take your bill out of that credit, and that's how you get your money work. We see nothing as far as money coming into the city at all.
Right, so each bill, if we look at the months that you give us, right, then each month when we look at what's paid out for, street lighting or such, then we should know that that includes those credits paid out too.
Correct. I think we pay, is it Homer Day? That's the name of the company that we do pay. And then, National Grid give us the credit. I think that's how the BQ solar system was set up before my time.
And you worked on adjusting and tweaking that so that we,
Yeah, it's been a process. It's in the it's not in January, and that's what they're working on right now. Those 15 accounts to be on.
so can you give us a projected what our credits will be for the year?
We have a rolling credit since we started the program. I can give you
Sure.
that.
Sure, yeah, kind of, maybe a snapshot of kind of the rolling year, kind of 12 months?
Sure.
Okay.
That's difficult, because the credits they pass on to us is based on what they draw in, right? From their solar farm, so it's, to be able to forecast it is,
Right,
But you can see the
right,
past,
we can
yes,
look,
yeah,
and
you
then
can-
from there we
yeah,
can
yeah.
forecast, right? So if we look at the last 12 months, then we can forecast the next. Hmm?
The past is the window of the future.
Something,
Some years have been better than others,
Yes,
right?
correct.
but it gives us an idea.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions on street lighting?
So,
Here.
Sonia, before we go on, can we?
Come on down, guys, you have been patient. You guys
They've
are
gotta go home
troopers.
and type up their reports, and they got homework to do, they got study.
You guys have been patient and good documentation.
I like Slim Jims better.
Jason?
I had some Slim Jims
Was that
there.
like a good flavor? I've never had
It
that.
was all right. I like Slim Jims better.
Just like plain one.
Yeah. It seemed a little generic.
Oh, thanks. I didn't get you the generic one.
What is it?
It's like sweet and spicy or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Jackson. It's just, I'm not a sweet person.
Okay, airport. Such as, there's a piece of steak down in there somewhere too.
Oh, if there's a steak in there, I'll get that.
No.
I feel like you're treating it like full-size things you have in here.
Okay, on to the airport, lest we digress.
We have the 100 line that went up 10,240. Do you have an extension there? Because I don't have anything on my,
How much did it go up?
10,000?
$10,240.
Yeah, that would be a minimum wage increase.
Isn't there only one or two people up there?
Yeah.
Is it, did you,
Quite a few part-timers up there, yeah.
did they build in, Bill, can you tell me, did Robert build in, requesting a full-time position up there again? Do you know? No.
Okay,
And the next one is the,
There's gotta be more to that one.
15%.
Because, I mean, when you look at the one that he did question, 502 grand, it was only at 18, but this one is only 76 grand and it's got a 10K.
Okay, we'll have to check on the number of bodies up there and,
Yeah, there's many bodies up there.
so, but there's quite a bit of hours that are needed up there to take care of, especially in the summer months with the mowing of the grass and as it, but we'll get an answer for that.
next one is the fuel for heating. He requested a 12,500 increase there.
so I have a question, because that seems to be in line with, you know, last year's, which was 39, but through December, and I'm guessing that we'll have higher costs here in the, we'll probably catch everything up for the winter.
I
Yeah,
hope so.
that's fine.
Hmm?
They use
Yeah,
one
once-
man up there, so they may not have delivered it,
Okay.
you know, too. It looks like it's pretty big.
They've done some work on the heating system up there too, to make it more efficient.
And we put the building in ground, there's a $3,000 increase there. And what else? For the contracted services, there's also an increase of 5 grand there as well. And aviation fuel, there's a $10,000 increase there. And we haven't spent anything as of December 31st. I'm not sure when they buy the fuel, I don't know, maybe that's why we haven't used more at all. Is there an explanation on that?
No, I don't have any notes on that.
There should be a revenue somewhere for the fuel sales, right?
Yeah, there's a few, there's a
It's on 1770 airport. It's not on, this is only expenditures, there's no revenues in there. We would have to look at the book, the budget book itself.
Clarence, when we look under revenue, where would that fall?
What number was it again?
4-1770.
Somewhere around there.
Okay.
I wonder if there's a chance that fuel got put into the garage because that number seems a little high to December at the garage.
Worry about the juice.
The
They only have 3
Central
walls.
garage fuel bill current to December. It's over $90,000.
That's
Historically, they were like 130s.
Get some oil in here.
Yes, and
It's a
all
little
that.
rough up in that part.
So maybe the airport got built in there once.
Yeah, but that's only up to December,
That's
so.
December.
I know, but if you forecasted it out, it would be considerably more than what's the past has been. Almost like an amount that the airport would use. Because that number's in line with their projected, but not the past.
Airport revenues, okay. Thanks, Lynn. So you had a question on that about whether or not it was captured in the,
Yeah, I'm just wondering if maybe some fuel at the airport got into the central garage's gas bill as far as where we reported it.
We can check on that. That's it.
More question for the airport?
no? Unless you guys have any, nope, okay.
Parks maintenance. The next one. We have your 100 line, the 8100 increase there, and the OT line, that's 2,000. And personnel services and other, that's $4,000 increase there as well. And next one is your travel trade.
And the increase in travel and training is for pesticide applicator training. We have to, new person training for that.
Stadium? Or total,
Stadium, there's
Stadium.
no changes at the stadium. Everything remain like the same as last year. And
so question about the capital outlay, that the 18,000 went in this past year, right?
yes.
And then this is an additional 18,000,
Well, it's not really an additional 18,000 if it's.
well,
if
it's
it doesn't-
18,000.
Yeah, if it doesn't get used, it will roll over to the fund balance.
But none of last year's 18,000 capital outlay was used,
We haven't used any
because that's what you
as of May, as of June, I mean,
Correct.
September, December 31st, nothing was used.
We'll be using, I think the capital outlay last year was encumbered. This will be the capital outlay, that'll be for the press box.
So then we would have 36,000 in there for the press box
Yeah.
with the,
And under building and grounds, he's asked for an additional 5,000. We may be able to cut that 5,000 because we should have enough in the capital outlay.
So building and ground, I don't have an increase there.
so we're anticipating the press box repairs are around 36,000?
In that area. We found out recently that we're gonna have to, we're having a structural engineer look at the support structure underneath the beams and that's showing somewhere, so we're having somebody evaluate that. And if we have to replace that, it's gonna be all of the 36,000 to do the press box.
So was it planning on encumber that money? Because if it's not an encumber. And the last one is the landfill. There was no increase there, same as last year.
That's the monitoring up at the airport of our landfill. We have to monitor that. The leakage.
Any other questions?
Did we ever find out if there's an end in sight for that monitoring?
Any? Okay.
No offense.
Committee reports?
I've tried.
None? I'll take a motion for.
Second.
Okay, so McCall the first one and Robinson the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right. You said 8%.
Okay.
Is this yours?
Sorry. We have to do the youth and rec.
No apologies. It's yours.
I know, but still. I know everybody.
Budget season is budget season.
Huh?
Budget season is budget season.
I didn't schedule the meeting, and she said, what do you want on the agenda? So I put it in. Okay, so call to order, the youth and rec committee meeting, Tuesday, March 19th, at 7:50. Please note all aldermen are present. So approval of the minutes from the previous committee meeting.
Make a motion.
Yeah.
Sorry, might as well.
Thanks.
No, Jason.
All in favor?
Aye.
What's it?
Jason seconded.
Okay.
Exploring.
So unfinished business, we have a few things, just a couple things to check in if there's been any update to scheduling for the Field 10. I know we were just kind of waiting and it's snowing again, so.
No new update.
And then, the War Vets pool infrastructure.
Well, something interesting has come up. The governor is now wants to see municipalities build pools and replace pools and, or repair pools and that. So we've already done the preliminary work. They had a questionnaire that went out. So we said, yes, we would be interested. So we may have the opportunity to receive up to $250,000 to help renovate our pool. Now, this is gonna be a slow process, so we'd like to explore or I'd like to explore not doing the pool this year, putting that off and just doing the splash park. So, and then Carrie has been working also with New York State Parks and Rec, with the council, on holding off on doing the pool, and which it would not be open this year because we can't, and just getting the splash park done. If we move on the splash park relatively quickly, getting the funding in place, then we could we have a good possibility of that opening up in August. So.
If I could add, Mayor, so the mayor and I, we followed up with Clark Patterson-Lee as well and discussed the possibility of moving forward with the engineering
Yes.
phase of the pool restoration,
Yes, I'm sorry.
which would help us potentially then, if we have kind of, right, a lot of times grants look for shovel-ready projects, right? So we think it might improve our chances to go after some of that funding. I believe Carrie thought maybe there were a couple other opportunities out there. I'm gonna get this wrong, like parks, whatever. Parks has some funding out there, things like that, that we might be able to explore as well. Because we're looking at, doing the pool restoration. It's gonna be a costly project. And so I think this is a good opportunity process, Mayor, for that $250,000. I wanna say it was like this summer. It doesn't open yet, so, and I think Carrie told us that it opens in either June or July. So it would be kind of past the point of where we're looking to do construction anyway, so.
I think it's a good opportunity to get the engineering done, be ready to go, hopefully get the $250,000 and other funds, and then we could work on getting the pool up. In the meantime, we can get the splash pad going.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think that's good, so, because we know that it's gonna be costly, and, where is that money gonna come from? So, would we have all of April with the splash park, or not April, August? Or, I mean, what are the kind of estimates? Are we just the last
Well, we'd have a
part of the
better,
season?
yeah, we'd have a better timeline once we get it out to bid.
So the last update as far as that goes, is that it's in the final stages now, with the last step is with the Department of Health,
Cattaraugus County,
Cattaraugus County. And so, once that comes back,
get it out, a couple of weeks for the bidding process, and then we could have, take us probably a few more weeks to award the bid, and then get once the bid's awarded, then get the construction season done. So,
Okay. Yeah.
So would that then take us back to the original project with, okay, so which version of the project and, because what
the
do,
most
what's,
recent one that we voted on,
the most recent one though that we voted on
which includes the
also
pool
includes the
restoration.
pool, right? So if we're taking the pool out of it,
We're just not restoring the pool this year. The pool will still stay there. We cannot open it. It'll be a two-phase project.
okay, but the budget would be different contingent upon what New York State and the governor might have in terms of funding.
Correct. So like the numbers that we've preliminarily discussed for the pool restoration, right, which it started out kind of small, but then everyone's put in their 2 cents. We don't want to just put lipstick on a pig and, call it a pool. We want to make sure
That it'll work?
that everything, right, the infrastructure, the plumbing, all of that is up to standard, right, and brand new. So as that dollar value for the project has expanded, looking for opportunities to help pay for that have come up. And so the mayor and I thought this would be a worthy thing to explore, and I'm in favor of it. It also allows, the focus again, just so we're not cramming too many things in. We've got a number of different construction projects going on this summer, so this would just put the one focus on the splash park, and can apply for that grant. But it's still, everything is in the same place. The pool stays in the same place, and the location of the splash park is just south of the pool.
And it would be safe to say that even if we had gone through with the project with the pool, it wouldn't have opened up this year anyways because of what we needed to do. So I just want to make sure everybody knows this. We're not just not opening up because we're delaying it, that it wouldn't have opened up because of everything we needed to do for it.
I think that's a great point, Sonia. Thank you for mentioning that. Is that correct, Mayor? Because the Department of Health have pretty much told us that our filtration systems are no good, so that needs an overhaul there anyway. So the likelihood of opening that and getting it up and running this season was slim anyways. But is the plan still to keep Fran Shop up and running this
as long
season?
as we can bring that up to the standard that the health department wants us to, and we're gonna work on that in-house.
Any other comments? All right, so on to new referrals for consideration. We have Oak Hill Park.
Ongoing issue. So I know that the mayor had worked on coming up with a solution to the one portion. And so just looking to see, do we have kind of a timeline for kind of the graduated, the idea was to do kind of graduated for landscaping. That's the word I was looking for. And I know, Doc, you had worked with Dr. Balaki on that, if I remember correctly.
No, I do not have a timeline at this, today, so.
And the dead trees, Zane.
Okay, so a couple of things, there's two different things with dead trees. I mean, one is, when we put in the trees with the project, there were like 2 dead ones. I think there's like probably 10, if not all of them are as you face the Fourth Street side, most of them look dead or dying. And I know they were gonna replace those, and we had just a couple when kind of the springtime came around, or the planting season and stuff. So I just wanna make sure that they're looking at all those. There had been, I guess, looking at all the trees in Oak Hill Park. We just had the one come down, just in terms of the viability and what we might need to do for some of those trees that are really older, making sure that, you know, we've taken a look in what needs to come down, what's still viable. So just wanted to get a handle on that. And I don't know if that will come through the tree committee, or that would be the tree committee, or if that would be through somewhere else.
I did want to question, I know we have, so was it 20, 25 grand that we were just talking about for DPW. First question is, for when that tree came down, that was paid for out of that fund.
I would imagine it's gonna be paid for out of the emergency retreat.
Okay, one of the two
I'll have
on
to
that.
check on that.
Yep. So last year, I seem to remember, DPW director came to us about money for a separate fund for trees. And we all agreed and said we would give the full amount. And I think it was like 130K. 150K? So the question is, did any of that money get used? Audit that we did. Because we went around and we did a huge audit around the whole entire city, did all the counts on what species, what were bad, what was good.
Some of the ash trees too, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Awful, really, wasn't it?
Yes.
So I guess the question is, was any money used? Is there any money left? And then are any of those trees in Oak Hill that may be potentially dead or on that list of, we gotta get these down? Maybe they were, because I do remember there was a grading level on these trees where they were good, they were on their way, or maybe needed pruning or maintenance, and then you had the ones that were, okay, these have to go. So,
We'll have to check on that and get your report on that.
okay. And that should hopefully, if there's more dead trees or anything of the sort, then that would take care of the trees in Oak Hill.
And is there anything that we need to do? We need to go back to the original company that put in those trees on the side of North Fourth that were part of the new construction, right? Regarding that, because they were gonna replace those.
We'll check on if they're still under warranty.
Anything else about the trees? All right, so the next thing is the Fran Shop Park cleanup. I sent you all a flyer for the cleanup, so if you could share it on social media. Mayor, I just put 9 a.m. start time on there. I didn't really put an end time or anything like that, so I didn't really know. So as you're trying to, if you're gonna call the Boy Scouts or whatnot. And then, yeah, so hopefully, you know, I've got a couple of nice emails and some feedback from other areas. But yeah, so hopefully we can get out, yeah, hopefully it'll be nice and no snow or rain.
Do you know Alice Miller Nation? Alice, do you know her?
No.
Okay, all right, I'll follow up with you offline, because she's coordinating a group from St. Bonaventure that was looking for like service projects.
Okay, yes, I mean, I can reach out. Also, Mayor, I had sent via email, I met with, Marcia, and, we had met at the gazebo at Fran Shop where she's doing some type of, certification. And so she wanted to do, as she talked to you about the project. So some of her things was just cleaning out all the brush and, rehabbing some of those bushes that are around the gazebo in there and maybe touching up the paint in the gazebo. I had suggested that she maybe use some colors that the muralist will use to kind of tie in that side of the park with this side of the park, and it brightens it up a little bit, instead of the green or gray color that it is. So I did send you those details in the email, so if that's something you're good with, I can reach back out to her
Yeah,
for that.
that's fine.
And then she knows the woman with the children's garden as well, and so she had some ideas about some of the plants as well in there. So hopefully we get that going and cleaned up and ready for spring, whenever that comes. Any questions on the cleanup? All right. So then, along with that, as spring's coming and our parks are being open, we have Little League is starting soon down at Fornes. So I just wanted to, I know we've talked about this last year with various events that happened at some of our parks, but, and this is for discussion to consider or discuss having our park bathrooms open while our parks are open. So for instance, Fornes, when Little League's going on, you know, the kids are down there 5 to 7, whatever time they practice, and then they have games on Saturdays, you know, making sure the bathrooms are open for them, as well as, you know, our other amount of money to rent the parks as well. I think if someone's paying $150 or $200, that I don't necessarily agree asking them to pay more for the bathrooms. And I don't think they have to be kept open all night, so we can close them at dusk or whatnot. And just to kind of think about as we're going through with Marcus and we're investing a lot of money in that bathroom specifically to be accessible. I don't know what the plan is for that, but if it's locked, you know, during the day because we don't want it to be ruined or vandalized, that might defeat the purpose of it being used.
So I agree. I think that they should be open from, you know, 8 till dusk or such. I think that they are in essence the residents of City of Olean's bathroom. I understand that we have some concern about people going in, perhaps using, sleeping in them, all those things, but I don't know if that is a reason not to offer that. And I think, you know, families go there. You know, I remember having younger kids and it being a hardship because you'd have to leave to go do that. And I also agree that if you rent it, I think the bathroom should be included in that. That would get rid of one of the issues that we've had with a couple of different groups that, you know, and I agree War Vets is we have to figure that out. But I think that gets rid of the camera situation in place. But I do think that the city residents footed the bill for these bathrooms, and I think that they should be available for them to use.
Any other comments, feedback?
Oh, I thought you.
Well, he was just looking, I know.
You know, we started saying something, that's
I was just, you know, it's a tough situation. Historically, Little League has keys, so when they're practicing, when they're playing, when they have games, they open and they close it. Now, softball has been offered to have keys and to close them when they're done. They don't want to do that. As for the situation that took place at War Vets last year, we've got that covered. We are going to, the recreation center will be open until 5 o'clock. You know, usually noon till 5. So the only time that someone would need to pay would be beyond 5 o'clock. Even on days that it rains, we're still keeping the rec center open for that, to cover that. So, but if they want it beyond 5 o'clock, Lincoln Park, that's included. And now we have, right now we're opening them at 11, we'll be opening them at 11 a.m. and we close them up at 6 unless there's a function there. I think during the concerts, the church takes on the responsibility to keep them open and then monitor them while the concerts are going on. And in turn, they get to set up their concession stand. So it's a tough thing. We tried to keep them open. We tried to open them at 7 a.m. We had lines of undesirables, I guess you could say, waiting to use them and causing damage. So it's a tough thing. It's gonna be an expense. You wanna keep them open all day, all the parks, there's gonna be an expense involved in that. So we can draw up what that is and add it to the budget. So,
Yeah, and I just think with Lincoln Park, we have this, and I understand, that it never will be a perfect situation, right? And, if undesirable people need, to use the bathroom, then hopefully we let them use the bathroom as well. But one thing I was gonna say is that's in the middle of the town, and it's, people are walking through there, riding through there, and, it's a good place to sit, take a break if need be. And I don't know, with Forness, I don't know if the coaches or the league is not opening up during games and things like that. But kids, are gonna go to the bathroom regardless if it's open or not, so just kind of, again, keeping our parks clean and sanitary as well. Yeah, sorry.
I got a phone call recently, a group used the park over there, and they were sent an invoice for $75 for opening the bathrooms
At Lincoln,
at Lincoln Park.
because they called me too. Yeah.
But if you said that that's part of that, why were they charged additional to open the bathrooms?
they may not have been charged additional, they might
The
have.
invoice said $75, they didn't request use of the bathrooms, park employee was sent over to unlock the bathrooms, they were charged $75 for unlocking the bathrooms.
I don't know, I'd have to look into it. Send me a copy of that invoice.
We can have them do that. I mean, because the other option is we get out of the building nice bathrooms and we get the porta potties that we are stainless steel that we can hose out. So, I mean, I do think that this, because I think that it's a challenge when people go to the parks and there's not a bathroom available. I get that there's a cost and expense, and that having, when we're talking about undesirables, what we're really talking about is people who are using drugs, right? Homeless population, and the reality is that people who are homeless who use drugs need to go to the bathroom too. What we want to prevent is it's kids, et cetera, so it goes back to, looking into our, getting some of the cameras up in place and what we can do. But I would like to see the expense breakdown of what it would be to be able to, have our bathrooms open and close, at least during spring, summer, and kind of the early fall months and stuff. I don't know what everybody else thinks about that, but.
Well, I mean, everyone pretty much said the same things I would have said. I would like to see that too, some type of report that illustrates what those costs will be over those seasons. I know when I first heard about the issue last week with the additional previous, but maybe it's something that the council should revisit and look at it and say, okay, if this is gonna be an ongoing issue, then maybe we should change the fee to where it includes the bathroom and put that right in there. At least that way, I can understand, parties, stuff like that, where people come in and they want to rent that space. You kind of expect to have some place to use the bathroom. To me, something like the one last week, you had basically a not-for-profit that was doing an Easter egg hunt. That was inexcusable to me to expect a bunch of little kids to be in a park with no place to use the bathroom. I think the bathroom should have been open. It should have been open from the time that they said they were going to be there. And then at the time they were leaving, someone can lock it up, or they can lock it and then return the key. Maybe we should develop a drop box, something. But we should do something to where we say, okay, maybe we'll hold a $50 fee for the key, we'll give it to you, you have the key, you're responsible for the bathroom, and make sure it's clean. Maybe do a security deposit, I don't know. And then they can do a quick check, yep, it's acceptable, then we can release their security deposit, and then be done. Something can be done other than leaving it locked. We do, this is where I switch to Anastasia's side, and I say, we don't need another bathroom. We don't need another bathroom, because if you're gonna put another one in, and you're just gonna leave it locked, then it kinda says, okay, what are we doing? A lot of people pay, first thing they say is, my tax dollars go towards this or that and the other. Okay, fine. So we should be able to utilize the bathroom anytime we go to a park. I mean, I think that's just something that should be, I don't know, just simple. We can
Okay,
put
so I
lockbox.
have this straight, so, from what I'm hearing, some group was charged for the park and also a fee for the restrooms.
Yes.
I just sent you that invoice.
I can give you a little more information on that too, because,
I can't hear, I'm
I
sorry.
I can give you a little more information on that too, because that was a question that was asked to Jack. That Jack was asked at one point.
Yeah, so I guess just kind of a look at those, breakdown of those expenses about what that would look like. Or, brainstorm some ideas of what options that we have. All right, thank you for the discussion. Committee reports, none. Motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Sonia, second. Vernon. All right, all those in favor?